There are many kinds of rights. Most apply to a certain group. But human rights are the only ones that apply to absolutely everyone, everywhere. That means kids, old people, poor people, basketball players, garbage men, rappers, teachers, Africans, Indians, Albanians, Christians, Muslims, Kabbalists, atheists, your mom, your dad, your next door neighbor, and you all have the exact same human rights. In other words, they're universal. But the question remains, what are they? According to the United Nations, there are a total of 30 human rights, which are usually lumped together and called simply human rights. They're all listed out in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is the world's most widely accepted document on the subject. But it was a long time in coming. At first, there were no human rights. If you were in with the right crowd, you were safe. If you weren't, well, you weren't. But then a guy named Cyrus the Great decided to change all that. After conquering Babylon, he did something completely revolutionary. He announced that all slaves were free to go. He also said people had the freedom to choose their religion, no matter what crowd they were a part of. They documented his words on a clay tablet known as the Cyrus Cylinder. And just like that, human rights were born. The idea spread quickly to Greece, to India, and eventually to Rome. They noticed that people naturally followed certain laws, even if they weren't told to. In France, a general named Napoleon decided to overthrow the new French democracy and crown himself emperor of the world. He almost succeeded, but the countries of Europe joined forces and defeated him. Human rights was again a hot topic. They drew up international agreements, broadly granting many rights across Europe. But only across Europe. The rest of the world somehow still didn't qualify. Instead, they got invaded, conquered, and consumed by Europe's massive empires. But then a young lawyer from India decided enough was enough. His name was Mahatma Gandhi, and in the face of violence, he insisted that all people of Earth had rights, not just in Europe. Eventually, even Europeans started to agree. But it wasn't going to be that easy. 2 world wars erupted. Hitler exterminated half the Jewish population of Earth in horrifying Nazi death camps. And all told, 90 million people died. Never had human rights been so terrifyingly close to extinction. And never had the world been more desperate for change. So the countries of Earth banded together and formed the United Nations. Their basic purpose was to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person. But what were human rights? Were they the proclamations of Cyrus, the natural laws of Rome, the declarations of France? Everyone seemed to have a slightly different idea of what human rights should be. But under the supervision of Eleanor Roosevelt, they finally agreed on a set of rights that applied to absolutely everyone. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Welcome to our video. Wish you a very happy new year. So this is all about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This is the great history and how we founded this declaration. So now we are going to discuss the articles, the 30 main articles related to this declaration, and we will brief it about. So my name is Mukul Sharma.
My name is Rutuja Sakharkar.
I'm Saezel Rana.
And I am Rutuja Mandhare. On 10 December 1948, the Three General Assembly of the United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by a vote of 48 to 0 with 8 abstentions. The first article: all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and consequence and should not towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. The records which help protect these rights are the birth registrations, records of insurance of identity document, usually by a government entity, Dignity is a fundamental part of this article, which includes gay rights, women's empowerment in registering India's constitutional being. The Article 2. Everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth by the Constitution, without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, popularly birth or other status. Furthermore, no restriction shall be made on the basis of political, um, jurisdiction or international status of the country or territory to which a person belongs, whether it is independent, trust, non-selfing, or under any over limitation of sovereignty. The Article 3. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. The right of life is a right which should not be interrupted narrowly. It concerns the contempt of individuals to be free from acts and permission that our interested may be expected to cause their unable or intention deals, as well as to enjoy life with dignity. Among the most obvious are the achievements of military instructions, hospitals and morgues, records of centuries, records of police, local and national. The Article 4. No one shall be held in slavery or the servitude. Slavery and the slave trade shall be prohibited in all their form. It defines that no one should be forced to any type of a slavery life, execution, fury, child labor and child servitude, trafficking of persons and human organs, sexual slavery, children in armed conflicts, sale of children, forced marriages, and the sale of wives, migrant work, the exploitation of prostitution, and certain practices under colonial regimes. The Article 5. No one should be subjected to torture as to cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. The intentional infliction of severe pain or sufferings, whether physical or mental, upon a person in the custody or under the control of the accused, except that torture should not include pain or suffering arising only from inherent or incidental to lawful sensations. The record of police, secret police, military police, juvenile and immigration detention centers, reform schools, workhouses, prisoners, and poor farms are all potential sources. Article 6. Everyone has the right to recognition, everyone as a person before the law. The interests of the individual come before those of the state, and that the state should not be allowed to deprive the individual of his dignity and his basic rights. Any act of enforced disappearances pulses the person subjected there to outside the protection of the law and conflicts severe suffering on them and their families. It constitutes a violation of the rules of international law, the right to liberty and security of the person, and the right not to be subjected to torture. The Article 7. The Article 7 says that all are equal before the law and are entitled without any discrimination to equal protection of the law. All are entitled to equal protection against any discrimination in violation of this declaration and against any incitement to such discrimination. It schemes to support government to prohibit speech and to require governments to balance the right to speech with the right to be protected from the hate speech regardless of sexual orientation, gender inequality, gender expression or sex characteristics. The Article 8. Everyone has the right to an effective remedy by the competent national tribunals for acts violating the fundamental rights granted him by the Constitution or by law. Every person may resort to the court to ensure respect of his legal rights. Remedy includes dispensations, including those able to put a victim back into the position she was in before the crime was committed. The compensation of losses by the intangibility. Thank you.
Article 9. Everyone has the right to liberty and security of person. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest or detention. No one shall be deprived of his liberty except on such grounds and in accordance with such procedure as are established by the law. Anyone who is arrested shall be informed at the time of arrest of the reason for his arrest and shall be promptly informed of any charges against him. Anyone who has been the victim of unlawful arrest or detention shall have an enforceable right to compensation. Article 10. The right to public hearing. All persons shall be equal before the courts and tribunals in the determination of any criminal charge against him or of his rights and obligations in a suit at law. Everyone shall be entitled to a fair and public hearing by a competent, independent, and impartial tribunal established by the law. When a person has by a final decision been convicted of a criminal offense, and when subsequently his conviction has been reversed or he has been pardoned on the ground that a new or newly discovered fact shows conclusively that there has been a miscarriage of justice, the person who has suffered punishment as a result of such conviction shall be compensated according to law, unless it is proved that the non-disclosure of the unknown fact in time is wholly or partly attributable to him. No one shall be liable to be tried or punished again for an offence for which he has already been finally convicted or acquitted in accordance with the law and penal procedure of each country. Article 11. The presumption of innocence. Everyone charged with a criminal offence shall have the right to be presumed innocent until proved guilty according to the law. A fundamental element of the right to a fair trial is that every person should be presumed innocent unless and until proved guilty following a fair trial. This is why the responsibility falls on the state to prove guilt and to discharge the presumption of innocence. Because of the serious consequences of conviction, the state must prove guilt to a high standard. If doubt remains, the defendant must be given the benefit of the doubt and clear because the state's burden of proof has not been met. Article 12. Right to the protection of the law against interference with privacy, family, home, or correspondence. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his family, privacy, home, or correspondence, nor to attacks upon his honor and reputation. Everyone has the right to the protection of the law against such interference or attacks. Article 13. Right to freedom of movement. Everyone lawfully within the territory of a state shall within that territory have the right to liberty of movement and freedom to choose his residence. Everyone shall be free to leave any country, including his own country. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of the right to enter his own country. Article 14. Everyone has the right to seek and to enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution. These are the accepted terms and criteria as principles and fundamental part in the 1951 United Nations Convention relating to the status of refugees non-refoulement order. Since the 1990s, victims of sexual persecution, which may include domestic violence or systematic oppression of a gender or sexual minority, have come to be accepted in some countries as a legitimate category for asylum claims when claimants can prove that the state is unable or unwilling to provide protection. Article 15. Right to a nationality. Every child shall have, without any discrimination, as the race, color, sex, language, religion, national or social origin, property, or birth, the right to such measures of protection are required by his status as a minor on the part of his family, society, and the state. Every child shall be registered immediately after birth and shall have a name. Every child has the right to acquire a nationality. Article 16, right to marriage and family. The family is the natural and fundamental group until of society and is entitled to protection by society and the state. The right of men and women of marriageable age to marry and to found a family shall be recognized. No marriage shall be entered into without the free and full consent of the intending spouses. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Wrutuja. Uh, Now, Article 17, with everyone have the rights to own the properties alone, as well as the association with the uh, others. And it also says that no one shall be attributed to, and attributely deprived from their properties. So this right, Article 19, gives gives them to protect their shelter. So now, Article 18. Article 18. Article 18 says that everyone has the right to freedom of thoughts, conscience, and the religion. And these rights include the freedom to change these religions in the beliefs and the freedoms, either alone or in the community with the others, and in the public or the private. They have and they got this to manifest his religion or the beliefs in the teachings, practices, cultures, and the worships and the observance. So this right was related to their religion, which makes sure their right in religion and their public prosecutors. So now Article 19. Article 19 says that everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expressions, which means that these rights include the freedom to hold the opinion without inference and to see the receives, and the impact informs and gives an idea through any media or the regardless of the fortunes. So this is the right related to the expressions of the people and their thinkings, and they give them the freedom. So now the Article 20. Article 20 says that everyone has the right to freedom to peacefully assembly and the association, which gives them the freedom to organize their association, or and no one may be compelled to belong to the association. They gives them a proper development related their societies. This rights assembly is entired with the development of related to the development of Article 23. So now we talk about the Article 21. Article 21 says that everyone has the right to take a part in the government of his countries. They give them the ability or the right to elect or vote, and directly or indirectly through freely participation in the government or the respectives. And it also says that everyone has the right to equal access the public service in his countries, and they will be able to, the people shall be based on the authorities of government, and they have a right to elect them. And with this shall be expressed in the periodic generalities and the elections, and which shall be universal or the equal suffrages, and shall be held in the sacred votes or by the equivalent free votings. Uh, Many countries might have a different age for the voting, but they gives them a chance to elect or participate in the government directly. And now we'll talk about the Article 22. Article 22 in the Universal Declaration, everyone has a right or has a membership of societies as a right of social securities, and in the entirely relations. It also throws the nation efforts and the international cooperations, and in the accordance with the organizations and the and, reso- and resonance to each state. And after all this, it also connect them with the economy, the social cultures, their cultural rights, and and the disabilities which disapproves with the societies. And for this here's the density and the uh, desire which relates with the free development of the personalities. So now we talk about the Article 23. Article 23, which Article 23 says that everyone has the right to work, and and to free choice of the employment, to adjust and to work with the favorable conditions of the work, and protection against the unemployments. And it also says that everyone without any discrimination has a right to equal pay for equal work, whether it is woman or a man. And uh, uh, and wages might be different according to the countries, but they have a right to work. So everyone who work as has the right to judge the favorable recomings and ensure for himself and his family and and existence worth for the human densities. And the supplement in the and he can supplement it in the necessities by other means of social protections. And he can work for any country for his wages and for his livelihood. He can work with any organizations and any community for his livelihood. And everyone has it also says that everyone has right to form and join the trade unions or any economy for the protection of his inserts. So all these rights make sure the persons to work and to live for his livelihood. So thanks for hearing.
According to Article 24, everyone has a right to rest, leisure, including reasonable limitations of working hours. The protection predates the declaration by the decades. It was the first stated as the universal principle in the Article 427 of the Treaty of the Versailles, ending of the First World War. The Article 24 was controversial from the beginning. State constitution guaranteed to right to the rest and the leisure and the influence of the commitments. And according to Article 25, everyone has a right to a standard living adequate for the health and the well-being of the himself of his family, including food, clothing, housing, medical care, and necessary social services, and the right to security in the event of unemployment, sickness, old age, or either the lack of the livelihood in the circumstances beyond his control. Motherhood, childhood are entitled to the special care and assistance. All children, whether born in or out in the wedlock, shall enjoy the same social protection. It says the right to an adequate standard of the living and the right to have a social safety, not the social protection of the mothers and the children. Circumstances beyond the control certainly applies to the global impact of the climate change, which no one person can stop, but each person can affect. Now, according to Article 26, everyone has right to education. Education shall be free at least in the elementary and the fundamental stages. Elementary education shall be compulsory. Technical professional education shall be made generally available, and higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of the merit. Education shall be directed to the full development of the human personality, to the strengthening of respect for the human rights and fundamental freedoms. It shall promote understanding and tolerance and the friendship among all the nations, united racial or the religious group, and shall further the activities of the United Nations for the maintenance of the peace. Parents have a prior right to choose the kind of education and that shall be given to their children. In the Brazil delegate, for example, said the right of the all education was indisputable, adding the rights to share in the hair of the mankind formed the basis of our civilization and could not be denied to anyone. Now, according to Article 27, everyone has right to participate in the cultural life of the community, to enjoy the arts, and to share in the scientific advancement and its benefits. Everyone has right to protection of the man and the material interest resulting from an scientific and literal and artistic production of which he is the author, or according to 27, seems to both give and take away of the emphasize in the ownership and the private ownership. Whatever the source, every archive holds item relevant to the rights and the outline in the Article 27. Now, according to Article 28, everyone is entitled to a social and the international order in which the rights and the freedoms set forth in this declaration can be fully realized. It is the section that the French drafter René Cassin called the pediment of the temple. When UN General Assembly voted on the article, it passed with the eight abstentions. Understanding the social order required empowerment of the both the government and the governed. Now, according to Article 28, everyone has duties to the community in which alone the free and the full development of his personally in the possible. In the exercise of his rights and the freedom, everyone shall be subjected only to such limitation as are determined by the law solely for the purpose of securing due to the recognition and the respect for the rights and the freedoms of the other, or meeting just requirements of the morality, public order, and the general welfare in the demonstrative society. And the right freedoms may in no case be exercised contrary to the purpose and the principle of the United Nations. Because of the article 29 on the because of the article 29 on the duties of the underwing the personal properties of the individual key resources. Article 30. Nothing in the declaration may be interpreted as implying for any state, group, or a person any right to engage in any activity or to perform any act aimed to the destruction of any rights, freedom set forth in. After 10 years of the Universal Declaration, after the 10 years of the Universal Declaration, Declaration is drafted. This article of the Declaration squarely places the responsibility of ensuring the protection of the human rights on everyone, not just on the states. And government groups, person, those are the source of the material that archives hold. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for hearing us. I hope we make you better understand.